Do Revenge just sent me on a trip down memory lane of teen 90s nostalgic movies, and I'm not all that mad at it. Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss Do Revenge. Now this is a brand new teen comedy available on Netflix. It stars Camila Mendez and Maya Hawke. Now before I get into all things Fern Mayo, Lainey Boggs, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that, and then we're going to come back and discuss. I really forgot how much I used to enjoy teen movies. They were really big in the 90s, and this brought me back to those feelings. Was this movie as good as those movies? I don't know. Let's talk about it. You guys have hopefully subscribed to see more of me. Let's get into this movie. But before we jump into the pros and the cons for Do Revenge, let's get into what the story is about. Drea is at the peak of her high school powers when her entire life goes up in flames after a sex tape gets leaked to the whole school, seemingly by her boyfriend and king of the school, Max. Eleanor is an awkward new transfer student who is angered, been forced to go to school with an old bully by the name of Carrissa, who started a nasty rumor about her in summer camp when they were 13 years old. After a chance run-in at tennis camp, Drea and Eleanor form an unlikely secret pact and friendship to get revenge on each other's tormentors. Now, normally when these movies are presented on Netflix time and time again, I do not watch them. Your Kissing Booths, your All the Boys I've Loved Before, Tall Girl, these are movies that are for a certain generation and a certain demographic that I am just not a part of anymore. These are teen movies. And normally when you get, of a certain age, 30 and up, you want something with, a heightened storyline, some substance behind it. You don't flock to watch these. But after watching this trailer, something about it made me want to check this movie out. Now, getting into what I liked about the movie initially from seeing the trailer, I felt like I was getting a little 90s, early 2000 nostalgic teen movie feels, and it was very much so confirmed watching the movie. Through subtle things like wardrobe, hair choices, the 90s music being used as a backdrop in this movie, personality traits, dialogue between the characters, makeover scenes, elaborate schemes, payback, revenge, exposure. It was definitely giving me some of my favorite 90s movie teas. It absolutely made me think of teen, drama, romantic, dark comedy, coming of age movies from the 90s that I do not usually revisit anymore. Not so much even the 90s. There were hints of, early 2000s films like Mean Girls, hints of movies like Heathers, 10 Things I Hate About You, Jawbreaker, Clueless, Pretty in Pink. It was just a nostalgic gumbo that took me down memory lane, and it could have easily been too much, been overkill, but they managed to do it to where we felt like they were paying homage, and it really got my brain to working to things like She's All That, Cruel Intentions, all the way down to the movie's headmaster being our very own Buffy, Sarah Michelle Gellar. I was here for it. It's just really amazing what you are able to store in your brain as an adult. Things you choose to remember and things you choose to just absolutely forget. But to see a paint scene here give me 10 things I hate about you, and I just pop out with, I'm surprised that you've never been told before that you're lovely and you're perfect and that somebody wants you. Like, why are these things there? Like, it's not my fault that you're like freaking in love with me or something. Oh no, she didn't. These things sit and remain on the brain. I created you, Fern Mayo, and I could just as easily break you. I killed Liz. I killed the teen dream. Deal with it. Smile pretty, Courtney. Like, this movie sent me on that journey. Little tweaks and scenes and little references here brought it all back. Now, not only did this movie give all these nostalgic feels, all while paying homage, giving us all these references, like this posh, decadent ass lifestyle and costuming choices, giving us all the Cher and Dion Clueless that we would ever want, we also managed to make the movie its own thing and make it very contemporary. With topics like misogyny, revenge porn, feminist, polyamorous relationships, hetero, male champion, female cis identifying students league, like what the hell? Being more open, gender neutral, progressive, we're fluid, a lot of terms and topics that are more from today that I know myself I'm just getting more familiar with. Terminology that just wouldn't be found in those early 80s and 90s movies. In fact, a lot of the things that, were said there that were considered okay, they're considered, wrong and derogatory now, especially with those movies being really conventional as far as, the one-sided portrayal of certain characters. So the way that the writing and some of the words go here, it really makes this movie its own thing. Now, lastly, the acting on all fronts in this movie was executed really well, in my opinion. This movie is not at all bad to look at, and that whole bait and switch that we got in the end as far as our character traits, the narrative of the story, the little flip-flop, when the story switched, I did not expect that. I love the little plot twist and the little shock element. It really kind of made the journey that we went on with the film a little bit more worth it. And our two leads being a little blend of everything. Normally with these movies, we get the most conventional characters ever. We get, the innocent, virginal, non-promiscuous girl. We get a promiscuous girl. We get an introvert. We get an outcast. And they don't have much depth. With both of our leads here, we get a mix of everything. And I felt like they were really layered for the type of movie that this is. They could have been easily the very typical popular and non-popular girl, but they are absolutely not that. In fact, both of the girls are really, really flawed. And that's not something that you see often. And I love when we can get some flawed, effed up characters. Now, it was not all rainbow and sunshine here. I did have some cons with this film, mostly lying in the area of the writing. The writing was poor on many fronts. A lot of our characters here were not at all fleshed out. Our main characters were, okay for the most part, even though I wanted a little bit more from the both of them. But the surrounding characters, there were far too many of them and not enough dialogue to go around. I felt like they could have shrunken the cast down just a little bit, even when we got into our best friend character, our fake Dion, or our Max, the person that we are so hell-bent on getting the revenge on. I felt like he could have been fleshed out a little bit more, but everybody else, it put me in the mind of she's all that. To anyone who matters here, you're spam. You're vapor. It was too much vapor here in this film, just people standing around sucking up air and sucking up screen time when we could have been somewhere else giving characters depth or spending more times with characters that I actually liked, like Max's sister. Felt like she had more to offer but didn't get as much screen time. Speaking of having some more to offer in screen time, you would think with the 2-hour run that we would have managed time better. The pacing for this movie is really, really off. This movie could have really benefited from maybe 30 minutes being shaved off. About 45 minutes into the movie, it really, really starts to slow down. It starts to drag, and it feels like there isn't much going on and that we're wasting time, especially when before the plot twist comes, it feels like we are waiting on that simple, typical teen movie narrative. The girls try to get revenge just to let her realize this is tainting and messing with, their core goals of who they really are. They realize they never needed to get revenge, and then they walk off into the sunset, with a rainbow in the background as best friends. Seeing the storyline in the 90s and the 80s, you've seen them all, and you really don't want to sit through it again. This movie really, really could have benefited from that plot twist coming a bit earlier, especially when we get into the motivations of our Maya Hawke character. the way that it's set up for Camila Mendez's Drea character to be really, a little selfish, off-putting, a little controlling. You can tell that she is using Maya to her own benefit. So when we have Maya going out of her way to, cling to her, like her, consider her feelings, try to build, this forced friendship, even though it's happening in its own way, Drea is not at all a likable character. So you're just sitting there like, why is she doing this? And I felt like they took a little too long with that plot twist, even though it was great. And I know that they were building up to that for us to be like, oh, wow, this is what was happening the whole time. We really could have benefited from knowing that a little earlier. And then just lastly, my own personal quirks with the film. I felt like the characters' motivations to get their revenge was a bit off. As far as Drea is concerned, the whole revenge porn thing, and I need to get him, he needs to get got now, I need my revenge. Completely believable as far as why she would go to those lengths and, just the weight that he carried into school. Now, our nosy Nora, on the other hand, the whole, you leaped and said, I jumped you at 13, and all of a sudden I was outed as this crazy lesbian. I've carried it all my life. It really wasn't quite, holding the same weight. Like, you spread these rumors. It just wasn't believable to me that she would go that far just based off of that. I needed a little bit more oomph as far as her motivation to go as far as she did, because boy, it was elaborate for quite some time. And then at the, in the end, when we get into the whole makeover situation and trying to make Maya Hawke's character alluring to, somebody like Max, or, get her in with the in crowd. Honey, it was not given. It was not given. I was like, what's the tea? It's not giving hotness. It's not giving me Lainey Boggs. It's not giving Ty rolling with the homies makeover. I was not feeling it. I thought she still looked dry and ashy as fuck after that makeover. Like, give me some umph. I'm all for, body positivity and all that other good stuff, but, put a little oil on that wig that y'all put on her head. Show a little shoulder. Put some lotion on them knees. She still looked real dry and unappealing to me, and I was just like, y'all, trying to check her out? Like, what? I didn't see it. It didn't do anything for me. But other than that, the overall sense of the movie was not at all bad. Would I, throw this on like I would, a Clueless, or like, oh no, of course, that has, whole nostalgia goodness. I'm always going to be biased. But as far as what this movie was able to do in the time that it was able to do it, and just the feels that it gave me going back down memory lane, I would totally watch it for that alone. Well, you guys, that was my review for Do Revenge. I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop down and tell me what you thought about this movie and what you think about my video. Be sure to subscribe, be sure to like, be sure to, just, hey, leave your favorite 90s movies that this movie made you think of as soon as you watched it, or even if you haven't seen it, or you're like, hey, I like that. I might want to go check this out. I look forward to reading you guys' comments. I see you guys next time for my next video. Bye.